Maybe it was inevitable. As the list of prominent figures felled by the Me Too movement continues to grow, some media outlets are giving them a chance to weigh in with their side of the story. But as we learned over the past week, giving a forum to men accused of bad behavior can be a risky proposition. Adam Riley has more.
This is The Takeaway. I'm John Hockenberry.
Hockenberry retired as The Takeaway's host a year ago, and soon after was accused of sexual harassment and bullying by women he'd worked with. Now Hockenberry is back, sharing his perspective in a Harpers essay he describes as, quote, a spirited defense of something once called romance. The piece was widely panned, but publisher Rick MacArthur stood by it in an odd interview with the Canadian Broadcasting Company.
Mr. Hockenberry's in a wheelchair, which is something you really ought to... He's a paraplegic.
What does that have to do with the fact that he was accused of sexual harassment?
It's hard to get out of your wheelchair and attack somebody.
Also resurfacing, former CBC host Jian Ghomeshi, who was fired in 2014 amid allegations of violent sexual behavior and later acquitted on criminal charges. His essay in the New York Review of Books mixed contrition with defiance.
He writes, quote, even as I feel deep remorse about how I treated some people in my life, I cannot confess to the accusations that are inaccurate.
That's a combination many readers found disappointing.
This person was accused by multiple people of committing sexual violence, not only in his personal life, but in his work life.
That New York Review of Books piece prompted the exit of editor Ian Baruma, who says he was convicted on Twitter. If so, his own glibness didn't help. Asked by Slate about Ghomeshi's alleged transgressions, Baruma replied, the exact nature of his behavior, how much consent was involved, I have no idea, nor is it really my concern.
By the way, for our viewers, WGBH produced The Takeaway, so just wanted to get that out there. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the comment of the wheelchair. It almost feels as if that's part of the old school thinking that has gotten a lot of media organizations and even broader across the landscape, all of the problems that we're seeing with harassment in the workplace. It's that kind of thinking that someone in a wheelchair would not be capable of doing something that's wrong. I mean, it really was profound when I saw that.
I'm really tired of this genre of "I'm sorry this happened to me" confessionals by people who are accused of harassment. I mean, we had one in Boston when Tom Ashbrook wrote something. At least his was short. It was an op-ed in the Globe.
It wasn't 7,000 words.
It wasn't 7,000. And
right.
I read all 7,000 words of that John Hockenberry piece, and it was that really was built around this idea of we've lost romance and we can't behave the way we used to. The thing is, plenty of people are able to have relationships and be in the workplace. Plenty of men, as many people are accused in this Me Too era. There are many, many more who somehow find a way to behave respectfully to the people around them. It is highly possible, and these guys just didn't do it.
Right. No, they didn't. Reading those two, the one man who's compared himself to Lolita in Nabokov, he must have been listening to the Sting song while he was writing the 7,000 words. These two guys clearly, in my mind, don't get it. I don't have a problem, though, with these stories being printed as long as the publications can show they get it and can put it into the proper context, that we should be understanding and reading these things so we can understand where we have to go as a society in dealing with these issues, and that people don't get it. And I think that that's the important thing, and the publications did not do that in the radio interview and in the written defense. There should have been some kind of companion piece or facts that went along with it to show that we get it. These guys might not get it, but we get it at least.
Well, I'll pick up your point and take it a step further, because one of the things that struck me about this is that this really wasn't done to goose sales or anything. These are obscure publications running these pieces by John Hockenberry and John Ghomeshi. Probably didn't increase circulation. These were exercises in ego by powerful male editors who sympathized with the points of view that were being put forth by Hockenberry and Ghomeshi. And certainly the now former editor of the New York Review of Books has gotten his own education in Me Too. And his immediate takeaway, use the word takeaway. Nice. You like that?
Yeah, I like
See what
that.
I did there?
That's good. I'll write that down.
His immediate reaction was, well, I was convicted by Twitter. Well, you know, this may be the first time that trial by Twitter has arrived at the correct verdict.
But once again, he convicted himself. It wasn't Twitter. He convicted himself.
Well, and it was the abdication of the work of an editor who's supposed to protect the writer from his own transgression.
It was the indulgence of the editor. It wasn't just the abdication.
If I may, two things. First, I wanted to pick up on something that Mike said, because there was no absolute framework by these people because they don't get it. But I think that's an important point, that maybe there was some window of publishing this to say, let's look at this and deconstruct it, and we're going to have one of our writers have an immediate response to it in their own publication. But you're right. It's because they believe what these writers said, and they don't understand what redemption and absolution. It also kills me that these guys have access to platforms when other people without their power and prestige, even now, afterwards, would never be able to have a platform to articulate any argument, let alone this ridiculous one that both of them have put out there. And finally, I have to say, I am amazed at the lack of understanding about sex and how it works, clearly, and also about sexual harassment, which we're seeing again and again with the Kavanaugh. Folks just don't know how this works. And so they keep coming back to, I can't even say old-fashioned, Dan. It is completely wrong. Right. Someone bring back sex education so folks can get it, because it plays itself out in these scenarios at the very high levels, and it's shocking and scary that people who are making decisions about what we read do not have a grip on this.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, I think now you know that for sure, right. for sure, after reading those two pieces.
Look, I think those pieces, we don't need to hear anything from these guys other than I'm sorry. You don't need 7,000 words or 8,000 or 3,000. I think you need 2 words, right? Just, I'm sorry. And that's the only time you should be getting that platform if you're apologizing. If you somehow want to, polish your image, I don't think that we should be, subject to that.
Let me just say, I'm sorry is not enough. I'm sorry is just not a good apology.
No, it's not enough, but it's better than the 7,000 words. It's not a good apology unless you go to the next step to demonstrate what it is that you're understanding about your action. Please note the people that have been harmed, not yourself. And then articulate and move toward action in correcting what you have done. Until then, we don't want to see you at the altar. I like that.
Well, it's basic crisis management. Acknowledge, apologize, act.
There you go.